my name is Aubrey. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a book unhaul. I was inspired to do this because of some recent author drama, authors behaving badly. I wanted to pull some of those authors off of my shelves, but then, I also was just kind of taking a look at my shelves, and I have just a ton of unread books that I need to just admit to myself I'm never gonna get to. Do you know what I mean? I have some books and series that I have just been holding on to for years and years, and I just don't think I'm ever going to read them, and I think it's time to let them go. So none of this is going to be super spicy, like I hated this book and I'm getting rid of it because I hated it. This is mostly just, again, books I've had a long time that I don't think I'm ever going to read. But I guess let's just start with the controversial ones, controversial authors. The first being Wicked Saints by Emily Duncan. I am going to leave links to a couple of videos that explain the controversy better than I can, but basically Emily Duncan was revealed to be a bully, like a big online bully, to some other fellow authors, and there has also been a lot of talk about the book itself, the series itself, being anti-Semitic. Yeah, I mean, I haven't read this. I got this very cheap. I think I paid $2 for it. I had like mild interest in the series. I had heard some super mixed stuff about it anyway, but I definitely don't want to read anything with anti-Semitic themes. And I don't want to support a bully. I really don't. So this is gonna go. And the next book that I'm unhauling is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and J. Kristoff. I have had this book a long time. I have never felt compelled to pick it up, just to be honest. This got a lot of hype. When it first came out, people really loved it, but I didn't hear that many good things about the rest of the trilogy. And just being honest, my dyslexic brain cannot handle kind of mixed media books anyway. So, the idea of reading this kind of sounds like a nightmare to me. Again, I'm pretty sure I only paid a few dollars for this. I must have gotten it on Book Outlet back when I was using Book Outlet. And just being honest, I think J. Kristoff as a person has always felt a little bit off to me. Like his recent controversy aside, he's just always felt very off, icky to me. I don't know. The fact that the main character in his Nevernight series is 16 and there are explicit sex scenes in that book. Recently there have been some pretty revealing things about Amy Kaufman as well. Like I said, I will link videos that explain stuff if you are interested. But yeah, I don't want to read this, and I don't want to support these two authors. So, okay, so we'll just get on to the rest of the unhaul. The next book that I'm unhauling is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I have had this sitting on my shelves for ages and ages, and I have just never once felt compelled to pick it up. I don't know what it is about this. I like the idea of it, all these creepy images and stuff in the book are cool. It's a cool idea. I just don't think I actually want to sit down and read this. I don't know. I feel no draw to read this whatsoever. The books that I'm unhauling are the kind of books where it's I know that even if I ran out of books on my shelves, even if I was just completely up to date on my TBR aside from these, I would just buy new books instead of reading these. Do you know what I mean? I just wouldn't. I can't ever see myself sitting down to read this. I don't know why. I'm so sorry if this is your favorite book. I just I don't want to. I don't know. The next one is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. I did attempt to read this once, and I DNF'd it. I got this way back when I first discovered BookTube. This was making the rounds, I guess. A couple of my favorite booktubers loved this book and had talked about it back in the day. I don't really know anything about it other than it's magical realism, and again, I just sort of can't see myself ever sitting down to read this. Magical realism isn't really my thing. I had to read several magical realism books for my college degree, and while I find them kind of interesting or quirky, I don't think I find them as exciting as a full-on fantasy or sci-fi novel. This one hurts because it is so pretty. It's got this coppery foiling on it, and the spine is really pretty, and I've always really liked having it on my shelves, but I just don't think I'm ever gonna read it. Next is a trilogy that actually I have read, and this is the Shatter Me trilogy, the original trilogy. I know that there are more books now. I read these several years ago and I loved them, actually. I really loved this trilogy. I thought they were so much fun. Juliet and Warner Forever. I was so swept up in the romance. I'm pretty sure I finished both of these two books like in one sitting. I loved them when I read them. That being said, I don't think I'm ever gonna reread these. There are more books in the series and I have like no interest in them at all. I just don't think I care to return to this world. From what I remember, like these felt like much younger YA, even when I read them like several years ago. And I think if I did reread them, I wouldn't like them as much as I liked them the first time. And I don't think I want to ruin my memory of this series by trying to reread it. And again, these hurt a little bit to get rid of because they are so pretty, but I just don't think I want to hold on to them anymore. So the next is another trilogy, but this one I haven't read, and that is the Great and Terrible Beauty trilogy. I feel like this has a different name and I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna call it A Great and Terrible Beauty trilogy because that's the name of the first book. This is by Libba Bray. Again, I thrifted these like a long time ago. I didn't pay very much money for them. I think these are like paranormal books that take place at like a boarding school. This is one of those series where it's like, I'm sure if I actually sat down and read it, I'd probably enjoy it, but like I don't think I would ever find the motivation to read these. Like once upon a time, I probably would have loved them, but I think that time has passed. For me, I am still interested in Libba Bray's other series, the Diviners books. I just can't see myself ever picking these up, and I have been carrying them around with me for such a long time. Like I've moved with them like several times, and I have just never felt compelled to pick them up, and I don't think I ever will, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm gonna let them go. The next book is a little bit random. This is Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance. I'm pretty sure I bought this for like $1, and I got it back when this was like a bestseller, and it had been a bestseller for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was just so intrigued by like the phenomenon of it, I guess. But I saw somewhere that there's like a movie out now, and I think I would probably rather just watch the movie than read this. And even if I did want to read this, I would read it on audio. I would not like sit down and read this physical copy. I would read it on audio. So I'm not even sure why I bought this, probably just because it was $1. But yeah, I don't think I need to hold on to this anymore. The next book is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. This was given to me by a friend a long time ago. This was like her personal copy, and she's the kind of person who just like gives her books away when she's done with them. So she gave this to me, and I have been, holding on to it for several years because she gave it to me, and that was nice. This is this is pretty famous. I'm sure you know what this is about. The gist is that it's like a time traveling historical romance, I think. And like the time travel bit does sound kind of intriguing to me, but this book is over 600 pages. The print is teeny tiny. I mean, it's got the flop, we love the flop. I don't think I would actually sit down and read this. I'm not a big romance reader, and I've also heard that there are like some questionable smut scenes in this between like the main love interests that sound pretty off-putting to me. So I think like if I ever wanted this story, I would just watch the show. Like I've heard great things about the show. I think I would just watch that instead of trying to wade my way through this. The next book is Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. This is just kind of a prime example of why I don't like to watch stuff before I read stuff, because once I've watched something, I am super unmotivated to ever read the book because I know what happens. I got kind of peer pressured into watching the show by my family, and so we all watched it together, and it was amazing. Like it was so good, and so addictive, and I loved it a lot. But I had bought the book before doing that, and I'm never gonna read it now, which is fine. Like I said, the show was amazing, and I kind of think that having read this already might have ruined that experience. So it's, you know, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. But I think I would be happy to read any other of Liane Moriarty's books. Just, you know, I already know how it ends, so I'm not going to read this one. The next book is The Stranger in the Woods, The Extraordinary Story of the Last True Hermit by Michael Finkel. This is actually an ARC. I used to work at a bookstore, and sometimes we would get ARCs that we were allowed to just kind of pick from and take home. And this one just sounded super interesting to me. That being said, I don't tend to like sit down and read nonfiction. If I consume nonfiction, it's usually in audiobook form. I've had this sitting on my shelves for several years and I've never felt compelled to pick it up. So I think it's time to let it go. All right, these next ones are the ones that I'm the most on the fence about, and they hurt. Like, they hurt. This is the Leviathan series by Scott Westerfeld. These are pretty old by now, actually. I think this first book came out in like, I want to say 2009, maybe. These are such nice, heavy, hardcover books. Like, they're so pretty. I love this first book. So like, I hate to get rid of them for that reason. But also, I love Scott Westerfeld. He wrote the Ugly series, which back in the day was like my favorite ultimate series. I loved it so much. I have reread that original trilogy so many times. I love Uglies. And so the idea of getting rid of these like really, really hurts me. This is like steampunk, World War I, fantasy, sci-fi, I'm not sure. But I thrifted these. I have had them sitting on my shelves for ages and I have never felt the pull to pick them up. And I just like, my steampunk phase is over. I feel like we all had like a little steampunk moment, right? So these are like the hardest ones, but I still think, oh, I should get rid of them, right? Like, I'm not gonna read them. If any of you guys have read this series and you wanna sing its praises, this is definitely the one that I feel like hurts the most to get rid of, and the ones that I like don't quite want to get rid of. And I just have a feeling that they're probably going to read on the younger side of YA, which, you know, I just have kind of outgrown. I do still read YA, I do still really like YA, but I tend to like the YA that's skewed older, you know, like 17, 18, 19, as opposed to like 14, 15, 16. I feel like these are probably on that younger side. I don't know. And then the last books I have to unhaul are the Reckoners trilogy. This is like Brandon Sanderson's superhero YA sci-fi series. Again, I thrifted these. You can sense a pattern. Once upon a time, I was super excited to read these. I do like superhero stories. I think that this series sounds really interesting in theory. It's like a superhero story where all of these people get imbued with powers, but instead of being superheroes, they're like all villains. And so it's like up to the normal people to stop them. And again, I think that sounds really cool, and I think that sounds really interesting. It's not really a question of like whether I would keep these. It's more a question of whether I want to read them before I get rid of them. Because if I want them sitting on my shelves, I'm going to repurchase them. I like the idea of having like a matching Brandon Sanderson set in those like UK paperbacks because they're so pretty and I love like the art on those. But I don't know. Again, these have been sitting on my shelves a very long time and I just have never felt super compelled to pick them up. And Elliot Brooks did a review of the first book a little while ago on her channel, and like all of the problems that she had with the novel are things that I think I would also have an issue with. So like that kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth for these. And I just don't know that I would get to these anytime soon. Like I just feel no pull to read these anytime soon. It's like one of those series where it's like, oh, I'll get to it one day, but I just like, I don't want to. Like there are so many other series that I would rather read. And again, I think like even if I had gotten my TBR down to just this series, I still wouldn't feel that compelled to pick them up. Like I would just probably go to a bookstore and buy some new books instead of reading these. So I think I'm just gonna let them go. If I ever want to read them in the future, I can easily get these from the library or I can get the audiobooks. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of them. Yeah. It is so hard for me to unhaul books that I haven't read, because in my mind it's like there's such a possibility that like maybe that was like my favorite book ever, or maybe that was my favorite series ever and I just got rid of it. But like with all of these books, I could easily find them again if I needed to, if I wanted to. Okay, that was it for my book unhaul. Let me know down below if there are some books on your shelves that you should really unhaul. Do you like unhauling books? Do you always read books before you unhaul them? Are you okay with letting things go before you've read them? Do you like to keep every book you've ever read? I know some people are like that. They just keep everything that they've ever read, even if they didn't like it. I find that very interesting. Yeah, please let me know in the comments down below. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.